welcome to today's session. I'm Moa Stahlberg, co-founder of Nordic Tigon, and I'm here together with James. James, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm James. I'm from England, but live in Taiwan and race across Asia. I'm a 3-time world record holder for half marathons, and I am a 70-minute half marathon runner.
Perfect. So we'll jump right into today's session. Today will be about strides and negative splits. So James, what are strides?
So that's a really good opening question there, because when I first started running with a club and on the track, there was like, yeah, just go and do some strides. And I was like, I don't actually know what that is. So I was looking at everyone else and it looked to me like they was doing sprints. So I was trying to mirror it. I then went to do sprints. But strides and sprints are actually two different things. So a stride is it's a short acceleration. So you don't just head out as fast as you can. It's not, that's where it's different to a sprint. And with a sprint, you'd go up, you'd be going continuous at your maximum level, whereas a stride, you're steadily accelerating to about 90% of your effort rather than flat out. So it's comfortably hard. So you generally start, go up to your top speed and then slow back down again. And that tends to be about 30 seconds at most, 60 to 100 meters generally.
And when should you use these strides?
You can use it before a speed session or before races, or you can use it after a warm-up and after easy runs.
And how many strides should you be doing ideally?
Generally, you should do between 4 to 8. But that kind of, it depends on your weekly training as well. So, if you're not used to doing any kind of speed work, or you haven't really done strides before, then maybe you could start with, say, 2 to 4 instead.
How should you know how to increase this amount of strides?
So it's one of those. So it's a bit like with progression. So obviously with your mileage, you wouldn't just suddenly start adding mileage on all in one go. It's one of those. So say you're doing 2 to 4 to begin with. Then once you've done several weeks of that, you can then gradually build up and add a few more on each time. You can do it maybe say 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay. And how fast should they be?
So you would start at a jog to increase to about 90 to 95% effort, but you only hold that for a little bit in the middle. So it's kind of a increase and then decrease. So that's again across 100 meters. So you don't necessarily have to be on a track, but whenever I do strides, I tend to do it on a track. So what I will do is I will stride the straights and jog the bends. The track, you've got straight line, then a bend, and then straight line again. So I would do the stride on the straight, and then as soon as you get towards a bend, I would jog that easily to get round to the other side, and then do another stride there. So obviously the straight, it's 100 meters, so that's a 100-meter stride, then a jog around the bend, and then another stride. And this is something else. When I first started doing any strides, I was thinking, well, how is a stride an interval session? But again, they're completely different because they're targeting different things there. So, for instance, the goal of doing an interval session is that it's to boost your aerobic capacity. And build up your speed endurance, whereas what you're doing with the strides is you're basically improving your running economy, and the emphasis is more on your form. So in getting your body used to that posture when you're running at speed, and the leg turnover as well. So that's the difference between the two. One's more for improving your aerobic capacity. The other is more the running economy, the running efficiency, to kind of get you used to that kind of running mechanism.
Perfect. Kind of preparing the legs for speed, right? Like you're
absolutely, yeah. So it's kind of similar to a track session, but it's also very different. Now another thing that's different there is obviously with a speed session, you're going to be finishing that quite exhausted. Your legs will probably be fatigued and quite sore the next day as well. Whereas the strides, especially because you're not going flat out, it's a good workout that gets your body used to running at speed, but without that fatigue that comes with it as well. So it enables you to stay fresher. So that's why it's quite good to combine it at the end of an easy run, because then you're not exerting too much energy. So that if you are doing, say, a harder run the next day, an interval or hill training or a 5K tempo or something like that, you'll still have that energy to do your track session or your effort session hard. Whereas if you're doing an interval session, you couldn't really do another interval session or a tempo or hill session the next day, because you just wouldn't have had enough time to recover. Actually, one of my friends that kind of got me to incorporate some strides into my training, he was the UK national record holder for over 45s in the 20 mile. So he was the fastest ever Brit at 20 mile. And whenever I have a race at the weekend, I still want to do my track sessions before the race, in the build up to the race, but I don't want to go into the race fatigued. So I was speaking to him, I was speaking to Orlando about it, and he was saying, well, one thing that you can do on the track on the Thursday is maybe do, rather than just doing 8 strides, do a longer stride session of, stride the straights, jog the bends. So maybe do 15 minutes of that. So that way it's not, it's keeping your body ticking over, and that running form and that running posture and the leg turnover, but without the fatigue that will come with it.
So he would tell you to do this instead of the track session before the race?
Specifically on the third, because a lot of us that do the track sessions or interval speed, whether it hills or anything like that, we'll do Tuesday and then Thursday. But then if you're racing on the Sunday, you might still have that Thursday session in your legs. So that's why instead we would sometimes do the strides rather than a session. So I mean, we'd still do a longer run before it, so maybe like a bit of a comfortable tempo run, and then end with some extra strides rather than just a few.
Okay, interesting. I haven't tried that, but yeah, we'll try it. Now let's dive into negative splits. What is a negative split?
So a negative split is basically where you run the second half of the race quicker than the first half of the race. So a lot of runners use that as it's a controlled pacing strategy. So it's intentionally starting off a bit more steadier and then building into the speed.
And why would you say that these negative splits are helpful?
One thing that I always say to people is that for every 20 seconds you gain at the start of a race, you'll probably lose a minute or more later in the race. So if you get a bit carried away and you get your pacing strategy wrong, then you will fatigue, and that's when you'll lose it in the later part of the race. So if you start a bit more comfortably and then build into the speed, then that reduces the fatigue early in the race. So we've all felt it where as the race goes on and we get hotter, our body temperature increases. It never really decreases again during the race. It just keeps going up or stays high. Same with your heart rate. If you look, if you've got a heart rate monitor, or you use Strava or the Garmin app, you always see it kind of steadily goes up, but then it doesn't really come back down again. So it's one of them where if you start too hard, your heart rate's going up too quickly. And then once you're already at that limit, there's nowhere for you to go. Whereas if you do negative splits, then it's a more gradual increase. So you're conserving that energy as well. But another big one with it is by starting more conservatively, you're delaying that glycogen depletion and also the lactic buildup. Which again, they're two of the big things that will fatigue you later in the race and make your legs more heavy and make it more difficult to keep that controlled pace. So by doing that, by doing a negative split, you're able to maintain and actually increase that pace in the later stages of the race.
If you enjoyed this conversation and want to take your training to the next level, you can watch the full interview completely free. And if you're after some fresh running gear that looks as good as it performs, head over to NordicTigon.com. We design everything ourselves to help you move better and feel faster. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe. Your support really means a lot to us.